Hey there YouTube, and welcome to Ask a Maestro. The question today is, why do we have keys? And nobody actually asked this question, but it's a corollary from my last week's video, which you can watch right here. When we say that a piece of music is in a certain key, we mean that the chord that opens the piece is the home chord, be it C major or G minor, and that's the chord that we're going to end the piece on. So for example, if we're in C major, we can have a chord progression like this. We can have the same chord progression in a different key, like E flat major, or A major. The chord progression itself is the same, but the starting and ending chord is different. In the first case it was C, then it was E flat, then it was A. I like that. Save that one for later. So the progression of harmonies is what gives the music its push and pull. And you can have the same harmonies in different keys, so why bother? Well, the first reason is very much connected to the question of transpositions that I discussed last time. You might want to choose a key to favor the instrument that you're writing for. So for example, we talked about how wind instruments tend to like to play in flat keys. F major, B flat major, E flat major. And in fact, if you look at concert band music, I would guess that 90% of it is written in those three keys. For strings, they like a different set of keys. They like G major and D major and C major. Those keys allow for the most open strings. And in fact, if you look at, say, the concertos of Antonio Vivaldi, which were written primarily for strings and for string orchestra, over half of them are written in the keys of C, G, and D. Okay, another reason that you might choose one key over another is if you're writing for the human voice. Each of us have a different range that we can sing in.
I have a feeling we ought to take it down a half tone.
Okay.
Just think it's late,
No, I know,
very late
I know.
I don't want to upset you, but I'm talking entirely vocally.
Maybe if I took my hat off, I could do it.
Let's
I don't know.
change keys, fellas.
I know you do.
Down a half tone.
And so, in fact, if you go to a karaoke bar in this day and age, you can actually choose the key that you want on the karaoke machine. Speaking of which, my go-to karaoke song is, in fact, The Ladies Who Lunch. Okay, so let's say you're not writing music for a string orchestra or a concert band or a singer. Let's say that you're writing for the modern symphony orchestra or a piano, something where it is capable of playing in any key. How does a composer then choose which key to write his or her piece in? Well, now we get to the crux of the issue. Composers tend to have associations with the different keys, and this can have quirky personal reasons, or it can actually have cultural associations and historical reasons and even music theory reasons. Now, we're going to go back in time to the age before we had a standard tuning of the piano. Before every half step were all the same. What I'm about to talk about certainly deserves its own video, but just take it from me right now that before, I don't know, 1700, 1750, all of the half steps on a keyboard were not of equal value. F sharp and G flat were not necessarily the same pitch. And if you look at antique keyboards from this period, you'll see that oftentimes they split those keys so that you had two different options. Well, that meant that not every major and minor chord sounded the same. In some keys, the major third might be a little flat. In some cases, it might be a little sharp. And because of this, composers started to have associations that different keys actually sonically had different qualities. Let's listen to a little music that falls into this category. This music is by the Italian composer Antonio Di Macque, and it's written for a harpsichord that has these split keys, and as it modulates from key to key, you'll definitely hear that not all the major chords are created equal. So this fact that in ancient days, different chords and keys really did sound differently, that got the ball rolling. And different keys started to have different associations, even by the time that all of the keys were evened out and we had equal temperament music. In the 18th and 19th centuries, music theorists and composers actually documented in treatises what they thought were the properties of the different keys. The best of these is undoubtedly Christian Schubart's Ideen zu einer Ästhetik der Tonkunst from 1806. Here are some of his associations of the different keys. C major, completely pure. Its character is innocence, simplicity, naivety, children's talk. C minor, declaration of love and, at the same time, the lament of unhappy love. All languishing, longing, sighing of the lovesick soul lies in this key. D sharp minor, feelings of the anxiety of the soul's deepest distress, of brooding despair, of blackest depression, of the most gloomy condition of the soul. Every fear, every hesitation of the shuddering heart breathes out of horrible D sharp minor. If ghosts could speak, their speech would approximate this key. Then, of course, there is D minor, which I think that we all know about that one.
Been fooling about with it for a few months now. Very delicate.
It's a bit of a departure from the kind of thing you normally play.
Yeah, well, it's part of a trilogy, really, a musical trilogy that I'm doing in D minor, which I always find is really the saddest of all keys, really. I don't know why, but it makes people weep instantly to play a...
Then there were composers, mainly in the 19th century, who associated different colors with different keys. The primary example of this was Alexander Scriabin, who made an entire chart explaining the color that he associated with every key. And one of Scriabin's contemporaries, Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, also had his own color associations with different keys. This is something that we call synesthesia. Certain people have it even with taste and color. Certain people have it with sound and taste. So there might be composers out there who, when they hear A major, they get like a salty feeling in their mouth. Now, Scriabin and Rimsky-Korsakov actually didn't see eye to eye on which keys associated with which colors. For example, Scriabin thought that A major sounded rosy, and Rimsky-Korsakov thought that it sounded green. Whereas Scriabin thought that green was actually the sound of E major, Rimsky-Korsakov thought that E major sounded red. So for all these reasons and more, a composer might choose one key over another. And now it's sort of part of the richness of classical music as we see it today. Okay, YouTube, that is it for this episode of Ask a Maestro. Thank you so much, me, for asking this question. And the rest of you, please keep asking your great questions in the comments below. Feel free to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, go sing a song or play an instrument. And until then, goodbye, everyone.
A matinee, a pinter play, perhaps a piece of my